Winston. Fissure on the Winston on the other side as well. Ooh, and a flank coming in from Fusions. Just want to tickle the Seoul Dynasty team as they walk in. On to Boston, getting aggressive. Ooh, gets stunned immediately. Barely gets out. Whoa, he was down to like 25 HP there. I am shocked that he escaped with his life. That was a very dangerous moment for Boston.
Yeah, I too am amazed that he was able to get out of that scenario, and yet Boston keeps pushing forward. They've split up the Dynasty.
Yeah, that's right. Could be a problem for Seoul if Boston can kind of pick them apart here. They've got them bottled up by the door at the moment as they retreat. Boston claims a point first, so the Seoul Dynasty on the outside looking in so far.
And that was really due to Fusion's initial positioning there.
Yeah. Now they're getting aggressive again. Oh, Blase behind Fissure, though. Gets the stun, and they take out the Winston. Meanwhile, Fusion's going to fall on the other side as well, so it's a 5v5. Now Fleta going down Boston with the advantage here. Aim God and the other support, Kelix, just free-firing from the tertiary parts of the fight.
Yeah, and Fusion's, like I said, he really triggered that because by using his jump to get into position first, they took over the center of the map and forced Seoul Dynasty back. That gave Boston the priority on the point to take it and then force the retake from Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to engage with the Winston jump, you better make sure you get a killer draw to that. Otherwise, you're in trouble here. There's the grab coming in from Boston. Catches Fissure up. Can they get the kill, though? They send out the self-destruct. Not going to do anything really too much. Now the grab comes in on the Seoul side, but again, no kills from those ultimates. That said, Seoul Dynasty still not on the point. Sound Barrier comes in. Fusion's low health has to escape while he's in that primal rage. Another self-destruct. Oh, that time it caught Kelix. And now Boston in a little bit of trouble here, as suddenly Seoul Dynasty with a big advantage in this fight. Looks like they're going to flip this one back.
And Michelle's self-destruct made so much space by forcing 3 members of the Boston Uprising back. Absolutely fantastic self-destruct. Even got the bonus elimination onto Kelix. As it was just past the lip, he didn't have any cover right there, and Seoul mops up the fight after that.
So now, Seoul Dynasty has to hold it. Pretty good first hold for Boston, though, on the other side. 69% is nothing to laugh at. Now, Fissure dropping down behind the backlines of Seoul, but Aim God already taking out his counterpart on the other side. Ryujehong out. Sound Barrier for Boston as they charge in now. They're going to try to advance back on the point, and Seoul has to fall back, but Boston already with a good position, and man, they're going to take it basically for free.
I mean, killing Ryujehong right there was the best thing that could have happened because he had his trance up, right? Yeah. They had just used Munchkin's rally, and he didn't have the extra armor on him yet. So Ryujehong actually crucial elimination there from Aim God. Yeah. Seoul can't fight that fight afterwards.
That happens sometimes. Sometimes those right clicks come through for you. Graviton Surge now onto Seoul Dynasty. The self-destruct comes in, and that's 2 from Note. He's going to demech Michelle with that one as well. Boston Uprising 90% and counting here, on the verge of taking the lead here on Nepal.
Yeah, Boston really pulling through, riding through that initial momentum. Seoul going to try and make it to the point, but they can't even get there.
Yeah, nobody makes it back to the point, and I'd say that was a pretty decisive victory in round 1 by Boston.
Yeah, it was, and a lot of that was because Boston was playing more aggressively at first and taking up more space. Seoul was playing it more like they had a Reinhardt as their tank rather than a Winston to start off that engagement. Initial control percent goes over to the Boston Uprising, and they can snowball that into a win. So Boston right now looking good, and one of our keys that we talked about earlier today for Seoul was that they needed to play a more aggressive style, which is the better style that we've seen from Seoul. Sure. They're not the New York Excelsior. They can't play super passively and expect to win these fights.
Yeah, I agree. So, they're going to have a chance to try to tie things up here on round number 2. We're going to Shrine. And Seoul Dynasty rolling out with the Reinhardt compositions. Both teams deciding to go for that, for the 3-3. This one's Fusion's on the point immediately, though. It's going to be Seoul Dynasty trying to break their way in yet again here.
Yeah, Boston just makes it to the point first, and they're just forcing retakes left and right from Seoul.
That's a bit of a risk to kind of charge the point so aggressively. Oh, but they cut Fish off, and ooh, he's lucky he fell back there. I think they're still going to be able to take him. Nice move by Fleta, actually, but it does split up Seoul. They managed to save Fissure, but they're going to have to give up the point early. Maybe they're trying to get on there again. We'll see if they can do it once again. Fissure separated from the remainder of his team. Seoul scrambling here. And there's kills coming in on both sides. Crucially, Seoul has taken down Fusion, so that is something. But Boston responding, a couple clean support kills on their side of things. And they're going to get a really fast rally from Blase. And that is going to be a take for Boston as soon as they clear up the rest of the members of Seoul. So Seoul kind of on the back foot from the beginning of that. You know, Fissure really should have died in that initial engagement, but he kind of got bounced over the wall and escaped with a bit of help from Fleta, and they just couldn't put together a good attack after that.
No, and I mean, Fleta going down first, absolutely huge. At the very least, Seoul didn't give up any control percent during that engagement, so they don't actually lose that much from the fight, and they get the rally out at the end. So with only about 18% when they come back, this is still a winnable engagement for Seoul.
Yeah, good amount of ultimates coming on board for them right now, so they've got a shot. Just have to buy a little bit more time. They've got 4 right now, nearly 5. Fully loaded coming in here. There's a Graviton Surge. Use Fleta saving is at the moment. Jexley does not last too long. Oh, and there's 2 more from Note. Boston Uprising wasting no time in dismantling Dynasty.
I mean, what I don't understand, though, is how many of these kills that Aim God is getting right now. There's a hero in this game called Sombra that disables a lot of these combos and can one-shot a Zenyatta if you use the EMP.
And she's particularly good on Shrine if you're looking at Nepal, too.
Yeah, I'm a little bit... We'll see how it goes on some of these escort and hybrid maps where Sombra does tend to see more use, but it seems like Boston is just getting their way right now.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a little bit surprised to see Seoul not being a bit more aggressive with the Sombra. I wonder what they're afraid of here. Rally. Now for Seoul Dynasty, they're going to try to move in again. There's a nice Earth Shatter coming in, though, for Fusions. They're going to pair it with the Sound Barrier to push Seoul back. They've already taken out Fissure, so this is a one fight for Boston yet again, and they are above 70% now, basically one more fight away from 2-0ing here on Nepal.
And as we've seen, though, the Seoul Dynasty, they wanted to opt into the triple tank, triple support mirror against Boston. Boston is convincingly beating them at it right now.
Well, we knew they were really good with this, right? And we came into this match saying that we thought Seoul the advantage, but we were basing that on the assumption that they were going to bring out Michelle Sombra because we've seen it so much and it's been so good, but Seoul just unwilling to do that now, and I think they might pay for that here. All right, Earth Shatter knocks down Note. They need more than that. Now Graviton Surge sent in. Can they get some kills? That's 3 for Michelle. That's the play that Seoul was looking for, but already 99% for Boston. I don't know if Seoul, even if they take it now, has the stability to return this one, but at least they've been given a chance.
I mean, Color Hex is going to have that grab up right now. Michelle is going to need a hell of a defensive matrix to make this work, considering they're still 20% away from that Transcendence.
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, Seoul Dynasty has a mountain to climb here if they're going to tie up this series. 99% for Boston. Seoul just now passing 20. They need to have some very efficient, very solid defenses with a minimal ult bank.
They're going to try and poke it out right now, see if they can get Jaehong's trance up, but that's not going to be enough to stop the grab self-destruct combo.
Here we go. There's the grab. Self-destruct thrown in there by Note. More kills. No, not this time. They're able to save some people. Jaehong pops that Transcendence to heal any of the damage that was done. And now back on to Fusions. They're going to get the kill. Jaehong with a finishing blow in Seoul Dynasty. An opportunity to defend. Losing that Reinhardt is big. There goes Note. The tank's out of the way. Color Hex backing off. Wants to save that Zarya energy intelligently. And Boston, they can play it safe, though. It's 50% for Seoul, but Boston still has at least 2 more fights in this.
Yeah, they've got some advantage right now, but Seoul Dynasty doing a good job of using their Reinhardt barrier as well as the body block on the Transcendence to stop a lot of that incoming damage from the self-destruct.
You put that Zen between you and the blast, you're going to live, even if you don't have a shield of your own. Seoul Dynasty now. They're going to have the sound barrier in just a second. Self-destruct up as well as grab soon again. Boston, a good amount of ultimates for them, too, as they advance. Fusion's looking for that sweet, sweet shatter. Where is it?
I don't think he's going to find it.
Oh, well, he's going to block Fissures, first of all. There's the Sembra going back in. Both shatters blocked. It's going to be the self-destruct, though, thrown in by Michelle. Oh,
Big
that was
bomb.
a sick charge from Fissure. The boop as well, setting up the 4K. Make it a 5K if you count the Diva Mech on Note. And that's Seoul Dynasty. They may have locked up this point. I don't know if Boston can even really get back there. Overtime, stalled by Note just a bit in that mini Diva form.
They can't. They have a wrecking ball. Fusions is not going to last long.
There's only so much you can do. They're trying to make a play with it. There's a Graviton Surge. If they can get some kills out of this, maybe they can do it, but Fusion's so low already. It's going to be the rally for Seoul. Color Hex taken out. Another slam from Fusions, but he is a wrecking ball alone, and you need more than that to knock down the Seoul Dynasty here on Shrine, it looks like. Now it's a solo queue strat, just swinging around the pole until somebody finally kills you. I love that one. Lucio being annoying, but it's only a matter of time, and Seoul Dynasty will tie it up. They dug deep and they got it done.
Yeah, the Shrine tetherball strat right there just for the delay.
We need like Napoleon Dynamite like hitting that or something. I don't know.
All right, we're going to see the Jexi boop right here coming in at the end of the Graviton there to set up the self-destruct play.
You know,
I mean, that was perfect timing from several members of the Seoul Dynasty. Jexi really nailing it right as that Graviton was falling off. That's what enables Seoul to go ahead and win the map.
You got Fissure denying the Reinhardt shield completely with the charge, and then everybody else put right in the blast radius. You know, people complain about this meta, but one thing I really love about it is getting to see Lucio's be big playmakers again. Yeah. I've missed that, and this is definitely a meta for Lucio's. So here we go, on to Village. The last point on Nepal. Seoul Dynasty, after a rough round on Sanctum, winning it on Shrine, looking to take this map right now.
Yeah, now they're playing more aggressively this time. They're just going in.
No kidding. Well, they trade Brigidas. They trade Reinhardt's. Jaehong down. There goes Fleta. Wow, it is a knockdown, drag-out fight. Seoul Dynasty trying to win this one, but in the end, Boston Uprising with a bit more beef left on the field, and it looks like they're going to be able to claim the point first.
Yeah, this time Seoul Dynasty was not going to give up any kind of room to the Boston Uprising. But Boston uses some of those choke points as they fall back to their advantage. Maybe a bit of an over-pursuit from Seoul there. As soon as they got that space, they have chance to rotate to the point and then force that retake. Instead, they all in.
I mean, it kind of looked like they got that first kill, and they're like, all right, we got this, and then they went a little bit overboard.
That's why you remember that you have objectives that are not eliminations in this game.
That is true. No pure deathmatch yet. Please. I want that someday. 6v6, knockout of the limb. Let's do it. Seoul Dynasty, once again on the outside looking in, trying to take the point here. 30% for Boston. Waiting for those ultimates to come online. They've got the Shatter from Fusions. They've got the tools. And they're going to go into the self-destruct. Ooh, the Shatter. And that's going to be Munchkin getting caught by it, but they get Aim God on the other side. There goes Blase as well. So Seoul Dynasty, Fleta striking back, but that is a very charged up Color Hex. If he can get some good damage in there, but I think you just want to save the grab here. Backing away now. Boston Uprising may just hand this one over for the moment. Yep, there goes Fusions. And so it looks like it's the old die on the point strategy just to get as much percentage as you can. And Seoul Dynasty will flip it at 61. A pretty good hold for Boston again that time.
Yeah, they did have a good hold, and they did hold on to their abilities. I think it was a bit too aggressive. What Boston was trying to do there was take advantage of the two ults that they had, which were the Self-Destruct and the Earth Shatter. But they didn't really catch anybody out with the Earth Shatter, and the Self-Destruct didn't do enough to zone people or even really do all that much damage. So
very true. All right, here we go. Boston just charging their way onto the points again. They don't even want to give Seoul the chance to respond. Seoul barely getting there. They're kind of the defenders or the attackers again. Oh, that was a nice one. Two tanks knocked down by that Shatter, but they got to finish it off. There's the grab. Self-destruct comes in. Can they get rid of the Rhine shield? I think they did. Enough to kill Color Hex anyway. They got him out from behind it, but there goes Munchkin. Oh, and a bigger Shatter coming in from Fusions. Trying to capitalize on it with a couple support kills, and they do flip it back. Again, blows dealt to both sides. Boston Uprising getting the flip, but Seoul Dynasty not giving it up just yet. They might have a chance here. They have to wait a little bit. There's the self-destruct. Fleta getting charged up from that one. Michelle did get caught for that. They're going to use the grab. I don't know about that one, Monty.
We'll see if they can get back in. They have Azaria and 3 supports on the point right now. Reinhardt has returned, so maybe they can knock this one out.
Perhaps. They have a lot of low health members over on the Boston side. Boston scrambling here, and there goes the Reinhardt and the Brigida and the Note, which is the Diva. Seoul Dynasty flips it back. 89% for Boston. Still maybe one big fight away from claiming the map, but Seoul with another lease on life.
Yeah, Fleta's move there with the grab actually turned out to be very beneficial. He's already 70% to a new one, and he bought time for his supports. He realized that he was the one who was going to be able to deal damage, and he had all of the healing available to him, so he was going to be able to power through the Boston tanks.
Important to note, too, Boston is 0-2 on this map so far this season. Looking for their first win here. Jaehong does take out Aim God in the 1v1. There goes Fleta with a kill on Diffusions. Things crumbling at the very end for Boston. It's going to be Fleta finishing some people off, and now it's going to be positive 70% for Seoul Dynasty here.
Yeah, one fight left, and Boston's in a rough space. No charge on the Zarya, not even a Graviton Surge. They don't have a way to deal with the Grab Bomb combo, really. That instant damage won't be stopped by the Trance unless they can get it via a body block.
So Boston's got to... They don't have time to play it slow, but they need to buy some time to give themselves those ultimates on the Reinhardt, on the Zarya. Kind of waiting it out right now, but they have to get aggressive here. Seoul Dynasty, all they need to do is use these ults well, and they'll claim the map. Going in there now. Fleta biding his time. There's the grab for Seoul Dynasty. It's going to be the Transcendence right away for Aim God. Michelle with the self-destruct. No kills out of that one, but it does deny a lot of the grab damage for Boston. Fissure needs some healing. Getting low. Fusion's waiting in. Gets the kill with a bit of help from Note. Seoul Dynasty reeling here. They're losing everybody, and now the sound barrier for Boston is going to help them flip the point, but it's 99% for Seoul. If they scramble, they've got one more fight.
I don't know if they do, though. That's the thing. They're going to have to get onto this point really quickly. They already have a Hammond down. But Fusions, counter-shattering off of the Graviton Surge, got them enough time. No follow-up damage from the Dynasty, so it's going to be a wrecking ball here. Fissure trying to get on. Can't even get on the point. That's it.
That is it. Boston Uprising will take Nepal 2-1. Able to do it. Great first map. Seoul Dynasty keeping it close, with Boston Uprising with the better plays in the end. I think we're in for a great series, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and then map 2 coming at you right after this.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Fusions, the main tank for the Boston Uprising, and a big part of what gave Boston that win on Nepal. That is their first win, actually, on the map this season. They're 1-2 on Nepal overall in the Overwatch League in 2019. And I think a lot of that was kind of what we were talking earlier about Seoul just kind of struggling to follow up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw a lot of their ult advantage and their ult combos come in, and Seoul just can't convert on kills. Like, that's the big problem, is they never seem to really be able to pull it off. Besides that one highlight we had from Jexy booping everybody into the 4K from Michelle on the D.Va. But for the most part, they've struggled when it comes to taking an ult and making it efficient offensively, and we're seeing it again here.
Pretty much, yeah. So we're going to Nimbani. It's going to be our hybrid map in this series between Boston Uprising and Seoul Dynasty. Seoul down one game versus Boston here, and it will be Boston on the attack as we start things up
Yeah, and it's a typical triple tank, triple support map, New Bonnie. We do see it pretty much all the way through. The only question is whether you're going to play Reinhardt or you're going to play Winston on that attack and defense. In this case, Fusions is a Reinhardt specialist. Why not just go for it? That means that both teams are going to be contesting this upper hallway and trying to push through. Actually, they're making a quick audible and just speed boosting around to the main street.
Oh, I like it. All right, going right up the middle. Whoa! Fissure goes airborne. What a boop. Man, I didn't know Reinhardt was that light. Now Boston on the point. Fissure trying to wade in with those hammer swings. Michelle getting behind, and there's Ryujehong taken down early, but Seoul responding with just a few. Fusions, though, seems to be unstoppable as he just kind of walks through the rest of Seoul Dynasty. That's going to be point A. That's it. It's over.
Yeah, one thing we talked about was that we thought Seoul needed to play aggressively, but the other side of that coin is that how did they lose to the Dallas Fuel? It's because Dallas Fuel basically just ran at them, and they got confused, and they couldn't stay together. One of Seoul's problems is that they have a hard time sticking as a 6-player unit. They're very easily separated, and I think Boston came in with that game plan and said, all right, if you're going to play triple tank, triple support into us, we're just going to run at you. And Seoul is not holding up well. They are not holding up well when they play aggressive.
I mean, you know these guys have been watching tape, right? And I think you're absolutely right that Seoul Dynasty does kind of struggle when the aggression gets a little bit more than they can handle here.
Like right there, you need to punish Color Hex for that. He can't be standing up there by himself on the high ground.
Grab gets eaten by Michelle. That's a big one. Seoul Dynasty, now it's their turn to get aggressive. They're going for it. Fusion's about half health. Boston has to back away, and this is a nice hold so far for Seoul. They lost point A so fast, so they need to buy time on point B. And the thing is, you don't expect to really hold point B, but if you can at least burn a couple minutes off the clock, that's all you need to do. Oh boy, you gotta watch out for that self-destruct though. They do draw the Transcendence out from Ryujehong, so that is something. Now the rally coming in from Boston as they try to get back onto the payload.
That self-destruct was really bad from Boston. As good as Note has been,
it's very optimistic.
They could just run forward and get out of the line of sight of that. So they're really, it wasn't going to be an efficient self-destruct.
A grab now for Fleta. Trying to pair it up with the self-destruct from Michelle. No kills out of that one. The sound barrier does get drawn out by Boston. Now a big shatter from Seoul Dynasty, but again, no kills. They just cannot get kills out of these ultimates.
No, they can't, though. And we're going to see Color X try to do some work right here. At least Ryujehong is now D-Mech. No, but there's another grab.
Trust in Ryujehong, right, man? He's going to get the kills eventually, but Seoul Dynasty popping that sound barrier. They're going to go in on Fusions and finally starting to break up this Boston attack here a little bit. Seoul says, meet me by the rhinoceros. Let's throw down.
Sloppy fight. And Seoul's got to come into it with a really shattered ult economy here. Fleta.
No pun intended.
Yeah, at 64% right now, approximately. And that's all you've got to work with. Meanwhile, Boston's going to be getting a lot online very soon.
Yeah, they should be able to get a pretty decent amount of distance here. Seoul Dynasty, I mean, their shot callers should know the ult economy vaguely on the other side. They should kind of know that Boston's got a lot of stuff coming up right now. Boston getting aggressive here. Seoul immediately backs away. Jexa getting a little bit low. Ooh, Fissure dropping low. It's going to be the rally now for Boston, giving himself some extra armor.
Got Fleta
knocked down. He's in trouble and trying to keep him alive. And Fissure the one to pay the price in the end. Wow, Fusion's just so aggressive with those Earth Shatters. Just walking up. Reinhardt ulting everybody. Now it's going to be the Transcendence. Boston trying to finish up this fight. They're going to send in the combo, and that's Ryujehong. Caught by the self-destruct. Kellex trying to boot Munchkin into position. But he's like, well, just get the kill with the right click anyway, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure the trance was really worth it there for Ryujehong either, because the delay was, it was sort of inevitable that point was going to be taken.
You already lost your Reinhardt and your Zarya, so what are you going to really do with that Transcendence?
I mean, credit to Fissure, because he sort of took the bullet there for Fleta at the start of the fight, which I think was the right play, but Fleta just not able to do enough damage to fight back, and now Boston going on the attack again.
Yeah, they've got the grab, but they don't have... Now they just got the self-destruct. So the combo online for the Dynasty. Gonna need a little bit more, though.
Just poking right now, trying to get some more ults online. Seoul looking for that opportunity to use the Graviton, but they don't have to until Boston engages.
Interesting Fleta stat there about damage. Now we're on board with Fleta, just waiting for that grab. Just dodges in there, drops it. There's the self-destruct. It's going to be the Transcendence used by Boston. 2 kills anyway for Seoul. You can't transcend through that. Boston Uprising going to have to back away. They've got time, though. More than 3 minutes in the time bank. And even with this stagger on a note, which is always comical / agonizing to watch, they're still going to have a chance here.
Yeah, you got 2 ults out. of the Seoul Dynasty if you're Boston. You're going to come up on 5 by the time you respawn, just trading out that Transcendence from the Zenyatta. So you're feeling pretty good if you're Boston. You still have plenty of time. You're not worried about what happened in that last engagement. All about grinding it out now just to finish this map. You're one fight away from a completion.
Nimbani can be a little bit tricky to complete, but Boston Uprising has the payload in a great position. Just have to turn that last corner. Going in with the rally now. Blase, Color Hex walking forward, looking for that grab again. Ooh, Jaehong popping the Transcendence almost preemptively. Oh, that is a nice shadow, though. Seoul Dynasty trying to counteract the grab by getting the stun. Instead, Jaehong, though, cannot stay alive. The sound barrier just a bit late to save the Zenyatta. Now the grab for Seoul Dynasty. They need a lot out of this if they're going to turn this fight around. Not going to get a whole lot. In fact, they're going to lose Fissure instead. Michelle self-destructing on the cart.
Oh, Michelle remech just barely.
Yeah, he's going to buy a little bit of time, but going to get demech pretty soon here. Looks like he's just going to run, but somebody needs to get onto this payload here. 2 minutes left in the time bank for Boston Uprising, and Munchkin does get fusion, so maybe, wow, Seoul barely pulling that fight out in the end.
Yeah, Color Hex dying late is critically important. Boston looked like they might be able to get out with some Zarya energy charge, which if you couple that with the fact that Fissure has to switch off of the Wrecking Ball again, might have given them an edge. But now Boston, pendulum has swung the other direction.
Well, that's the thing. You're absolutely right. Seoul Dynasty have those ultimates coming up now, and Boston Uprising only 1:30 on the clock. Can they do it?
Well, pot shots by Flooded here, trying to get that charge up.
Yeah. Why not, man? You got to get that grab.
Yeah, he's almost there at the grab. Should be feeling good about it right now.
Yeah, Boston pushing forward here. Seoul Dynasty just waiting. As soon as the ultimates are online, they can get aggressive. And until then, they can just burn time off the time bank. Boston's not having any of that, though. They're running forward. Fusions has to be healed with that Transcendence. He was about to go down. They're going in on the Color Hex now. Color Hex grabs to save his own life, basically. And that's going to mean a flat kill. Aim God grabbing 2 with the headshots in the end. Ooh, I don't know. That shatter onto Seoul might have been Boston's ticket to finishing this map here.
They over-pursued that kill onto Color Hex and got baited straight into the grab, Doa.
Yep.
Didn't give Fleta a chance to use his own. The defensive matrix might have been up, but that's it. They're still going to push it through, so.
Yeah, Boston Uprising finishes their attack run with a bit of time left on the time bank. Not a ton, but hey, you'll be happy with pretty much anything in that situation.
Yeah, and that's the trouble here, is that Boston, like Color Hex was the perfect little piece of bait to dangle in front of the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, they all in, didn't get the elimination, and walked straight into a grab on the back of the cart.
Intentional bait, though. Color Hex was down to like 30 health, man. That could have easily swung the other way too.
Yes, I mean you could say that in this one instance, but I feel like this is a repetitive problem of Seoul over pursuing.
Sure.
Now you don't have to go there if you're Seoul. You never have to walk into that grab.
Right.
You have your own grab first. Let them approach you.
Yeah.
They have to push the cart into the end. You don't need to walk up onto the cart like that. You just don't. Like you don't have to do that.
Well, the other question too: where is Sombra?
Where is Sombra?
Where is Sombra? I mean, I know normally you can't see her because she's invisible, so that's like a question a lot of people are asking all the time. But why is no one on Seoul Dynasty playing Sombra? That's the question we need to be asking right now.
This is really weird to me, Duh. This is so weird that you would look at the vulnerability that the Boston Uprising have to Sombra. You would be a Sombra-based team like the Seoul Dynasty, and Michelle Sombra is just more invisible than normal, as you would say.
I guess. Some sullen faces on the Seoul Dynasty right now. Jaehong looking a little bit stunned, but it's not over yet. You were able to use up most of the time in the time bank. Boston down to 39 seconds, which isn't a ton. Seoul Dynasty with a chance to equalize here. See what they decide to go with. Are they going to just go with the 3-3, or are they going to go with something different? Munchkin showing the Sombra, but I've got a feeling this is just going to be a scout.
Yeah, it's definitely just going to be a scout right here. But they want that fast A take before they switch to triple tanks, triple support. It wouldn't surprise me if Fleta was going to play the Pharah.
He's got a great Pharah.
He was consistently the best Pharah in the league last year. Right. So use what you got, or play Ana, whatever.
And they're just going to try to get that sleep dart on the note.
Yeah.
He's pushing a little bit too far forward here.
Yep, absolutely right. Just taking a peek out of the spawn and seeing if you can get a freebie.
Yep. Wait for it. Doesn't look like he gets it. Yeah, there's the swap. Back to the Pharah. Okay, they are going for it. Fissure on the Hammond.
I'm surprised they're sticking with this when they see the Winston on the defense. Does give you more mobility. Okay. So Munchkin is going to actually just translocate forward here. Yeah. He's got it in the lower hallway, and now they're going to try and herd The goats off the high ground here with the Pharah.
Fissure threatening a little bit on the point, trying to draw Boston off of that high ground position here. That gives Fleta a chance to take the high ground himself. Boston uses their mobility to get back on there, and Fleta just flies away, man. The Fleta flutter. Raining death down on the point right now. Boston trying to find a way to deal with this, and it's tricky when you look at the 3-3 composition. Who's going to be shooting at the Pharah here?
I mean, they need to deal with fusions first. You can't be allowed to be on the flank, and that's actually great positioning by Note to deny the rockets so that fusions is safe.
Sure. Fissure waiting for it, going in. Oh, and name got taken out.
Okay.
And that's a midair shot
Holy
onto
moly.
Kellex. Justice raining onto Boston, it looks like. That's going to be a double kill from Fleta's Pharah ultimate, and Seoul Dynasty. That was convincing.
I mean, I'm not sure Justice is going to be reigning over anything this season, Doa, but
yeah, that's true.
Fleta at least get some kills right there. Impressive air-to-air rockets.
Justice reigns from below? I don't know. Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, Seoul Dynasty, they're going to come in, swap off this composition, and they were just going for the fast point A, and that was pretty convincing. I think Boston played all right around that, particularly Note, but Munchkin's going to be sitting here, and he is going to stick onto this Sombra now that he's got
He's gonna have
the EMP ready and waiting.
Yeah. Probably going to do the EMP, and then we'll see if he swaps afterwards. Boston getting super aggressive, and they're going to walk right in to that EMP. 4 people hacked, but it doesn't hit AimGod. He's going to be able to transcend and keep Boston alive, and get another one of those EMPs. Although, Seoul Dynasty, they do get a DMEC onto Note. They get the kill here, so a chance. A 6v5 coming up. There's Jaehong with another one. So, in the end, Seoul Dynasty finally turn it around, but for a little while, that looked like one of those EMPs that wasn't going to result in a whole lot.
I mean, actually, it was a pretty cool bait, I think, from Boston because they kept their trance around the corner and then baited the EMP so that they could trance in and try and take that fight. Didn't end up working because they didn't last long enough to really get the rest of their ultimates off, but the idea, I think, was really fun.
Honestly, in this league, Lucio's and Zenyatta's have gotten so good at not being hit by Transcendence. I'm amazed whenever I watch series in the last couple of weeks, and every time there's an EMP, it seems like the sound barrier comes in right after that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Teams are getting good at playing around the Sombra anyway. Graf now coming in for Boston. Jexe and Fleta going down early. This is going to be a one fight for Boston, it looks like. Although Michelle, all right, on that Zarya. So here's the interesting thing with Seoul right now, is that because you've swapped things up so much, now you've got Michelle and this Zarya. Is that really what you want if you're Seoul Dynasty?
I assume this is something they've been practicing. So
I hope so, right?
Yeah, obviously. And you do need the Zarya regardless. Like, you have to give up the Diva. You need that extra damage from your Zarya player in these compositions. So we'll see what they can actually accomplish with it and how Michelle is going to be doing on this hero.
Yep. Seoul Dynasty with 3 minutes to finish off point B. They're going to try to loop around the back, get a kill. Oh, they get one on to AimGod. Munchkin just doing work by himself there. Avoiding that self-destruct. It's going to be the sound barrier from Boston now. As the grab for Seoul comes out, charge comes through, and Fissure takes down Fusions with it. And Seoul Dynasty should be free and clear to finish point B now.
That they will.
Eventually. After they hammer their way through Note.
So card is going to keep moving right now. Respectable amount of time taken off the clock, though, by Boston after giving up a quick point A. They still have to work through it, but regardless, we will be going into time bank if Seoul can make it through the map. But 4 minutes is an awfully long time.
It is, and you've got that EMP from Munchkin, too, now, looking at this next fight. A lot of ultimates looking good for Boston. AimGod has his trance as well, so you've got stuff on both sides.
But this is the thing, though. AimGod really has to nail this trance, because if he gets EMP'd right now...
I think he's up on the high ground there,
There's going to be a lot of trouble for Boston.
Munchkin's looking for him. There's the EMP. AimGod pops the trance just in time. And now Fissure, though, he gets an enormous shatter off the back of those hacks. AimGod, though, with the trance, prevents nearly all the damage. And now Fusions comes back in. There's the kill on to Jexe. Both Lucios going down. And Seoul Dynasty, again, not able to really convert that into a lot of kills. That said, though, in the ensuing fight, they just brawl it out. What a grindy fight, and Jaehong is the hero.
Yeah, still, though, if they hadn't had Fleta and Jaehong alive at the end of that engagement, it could have been a lot different, right?
Yeah.
That fight, Seoul was very close to losing because they tried to Reinhardt swing into the trance instead of charging somebody out. That was a really weird choice by Fissure.
Well, I mean, what can you do, right? I guess you can do something different, but Seoul didn't decide to do that. Seoul Dynasty coming in again. Here's a grab for Boston. Jexe doesn't look like he's going to live through that one. Neither will Fissure. So Seoul, with about 3 minutes in the time bank, will go ahead and back off. No ultimates used. They're going to have a lot coming online soon, but Boston Uprising, I would say, in a much better position to fight this ensuing fight than they were in that first one on point C.
Yeah, they definitely are now, but Munchkin's always going to threaten that back cap with the Sombra, so
Sure.
things get a little bit dicey.
You can see Note just kind of swinging around, shooting a lot to try to catch that Sombra. Interesting. That's a tough one to catch people in. That's where you get a lot of free kills with the... but how about that? Double knockdowns with those 2 shatters, but it's going to be Michelle cleaning things up on the Zarya. Munchkin doesn't even need to use that EMP, and that's going to be so crucial when the respawns start coming in for Boston.
Now, Boston's been trying to preempt the EMPs this whole map, and it really hasn't been working for them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that self-destruct they threw because you can catch a lot of people on that corner sometimes, but obviously so ready for that. There's the EMP, but again, Aim God able to trance. They're going to throw out the grab anyway. Fissure knocking people down with that Earth Shatter. They're using the Sound Barrier, everything being thrown in there. They got to take out Fusions, though. The Hammond still delaying. Looks like they'll finally be able to take this fight. It's not pretty, but Seoul gets it done.
Yeah, like you say, Doa, it wasn't pretty there at the end, but they do end up with 1:40 in the time bank. So a little bit more time, and with how effective their point A attack was, I think you're encouraged if you're a Seoul fan.
Guess what? The Sombra comes in, suddenly Seoul looking a little bit better. We'll see if they can keep the momentum going in time bank after we come back. We are all tied up, both teams finishing their attack runs. Now we go into time bank. 1 minute on the clock for Boston, and 2 minutes actually for Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, and let's talk about what happened with the Seoul Dynasty, because they got locked into some off roles there. Obviously, Fleta on the Brigitte, Michelle on the Zarya, and Munchkin on the Sombra. And this is because they wanted to keep that EMP, and their ults were always sort of offset. But as we come in, Michelle is averaging 4.39 enemies hit per EMP right now. And Munchkin was much lower at 3.7, so he wasn't finding the same opportunities to hit a lot of targets with that EMP. Keep an eye on that. We see the same thing from Seoul moving forward.
It was a little bit odd, but they made it work. A little bit more time in the time bank as Boston gets started here. They're going to go for the Reinhardt 3-3 here. Seoul responding in kind, and they're going to do the same thing they did, going right up Main Street here. Onto Adawe Avenue, looks like.
Yeah, watch Kellex right
for
there.
The boots, man. All right, he does knock some people off the high ground,
Munchkin.
and now Fissure gets jumped on. Fled in a little bit of trouble, shields himself, but Munchkin down. There goes Fissure as well. Nice plays from Kellex to set that up for his team.
Kellex absolutely created that play right there. And again, you'll see how aggressively they play on these attacks. They're just going to run to the point. And as soon as that drop down occurred, they isolate Munchkin on the flank thanks to a boot from Kellex. And what we saw was Munchkin just ran into the corridor away from his team. It's so easy for Note just to boost into that hallway and kill him afterwards. Seoul needs to stay together.
Pretty much. It's so tempting as a support to duck into that little hallway, but you might as, you're just trapping yourself, right?
It's great play by Kellex.
Yeah. All right. Boston trying to push. We're into OT now. They will not get any more time. They need to stay on the payload to keep this push alive. But look at the aggression. Just forcing Seoul back, creating more space for the payload. Seoul waiting it out, maybe waiting for another ultimate or two to come online. They've got a little bit low. Oh, they're going to go into Munchkin again. It's going to force Ryujehong to transcend. They nearly lost a few more members. Fusion's a bit low. It's going to be another trans.
Great shatter.
Great shatter comes in from Fusion. They're going to combine it with Fleta's grab and the self-destruct. The boop gets Blasé. Oh, but Seoul caught in the reverse grab from Color Hex. And that is the opposite of what you want of your Seoul, but Boston is going to be pretty overjoyed. That is going to be a lot more distance on that payload for them.
That is the second time we've seen Fissure hit a nice shatter, walk into a trance, and instead of charging somebody out, start swinging his hammer. He tried to charge them back into his team, but that gave Kellex enough time to build up Sound Barrier and cast the animation. I think he had to charge straight through.
Generally you want to try to take somebody out of the Transcendence, right? So they're not getting that healing again, but You know, Seoul Dynasty, no doubt, has looked pretty off today. That's going to be point B taken in time bank for Boston. This is getting to be a pretty insane push for the Uprising right now. Still in overtime. They still got to stay on that payload, but they are doing great so far. All right, Seoul Dynasty going in with Sound Barrier. They just need to force Boston off. There's the Color Hex kill. Looks like this might be where it ends finally here. Fusions drops a big Earth Shatter here. It's going to slow down some of Seoul, but AimGod responding with the Transcendence. Whoa, Boston able to turn this one around again, perhaps. It's close. Trying to stay alive on the payload here. Fissure, low health. Can they finish him? They can. Both Reinhardt's down. And here's the self-destruct coming in. Boston still on that payload. And the kills, they're getting it. Fleta with like no health. As soon as that shield is gone, he's gone. And that is going to be more distance taken by Boston.
And there you go, Doa. There is one of the 5.9% of fights where the Zarya dies first. And Boston Uprising still pulls it out. They got it on another trance at the end of that. And Seoul, they just can't convert on these kills.
I mean, you're feeling like this is a victory lap. If you're Boston Uprising at this point, you almost never push it this far in payload.
This is a ridiculous push.
They are doing great, man. Grav now comes in from Seoul. Can they finally get this thing stopped? Self-destruct comes in for Boston. No kills out of that one, but look at, they've got Fissure so low. Transcendence has to be used by Ryujehong to keep people alive. There's another big shatter. They go for it. They finally get some kills, and it looks like this is where the payload will finally come to rest for Boston Uprising, but what a push that was. That was a fantastic OT round for Boston.
And Note is a great team player. I mean, the self-destruct right there to prevent the follow-up on the grab was basically the only thing they could do in that situation. Didn't have a high percentage chance of working, but he's made so many plays today already. Take a look at Munchkin here, coming into this one. He's going to get into the back line right there. There you go. Stunned. Deny on the sound barrier. Beautiful.
All right.
That was definitely could have changed quite a bit right there. So heads up play by Munchkin.
Yep. He's having a pretty good day on Brigida, but Seoul Dynasty in general having a bad day on that round. Man, with 1 minute. Keep in mind, Boston Uprising started that push with 1 minute in the time bank, and they got it nearly to the end. That is ludicrous, man.
I think it's going to be really hard for Seoul now because the problem is if they want the fast A take, they need to use this composition. And if they have to use this composition, then they need to transition into triple tank, triple support.
Yep.
And then they're going to be at an ult disadvantage. It's really hard. It looks so easy if they could have just held A, but now things are much more complicated.
Well, that's one of the things about this meta that's kind of interesting is that you have to kind of decide if you want to have a fast point A take and reset your ult economy, or have a slower point A take and roll into B with more ults. And that's generally how it is on a lot of maps in the game right now. Seoul Dynasty, what are they going to go with here? Michelle on the Reinhardt now. All right, Fissure, just going for that sleep dart, maybe seeing if Note was out there. He's going to swap over Michelle back to the Diva.
So same strategy.
Yep, they just needed Michelle on the Rhine for the shield initially, just in case.
So keep an eye on Fusions here in his positioning. If he goes back on the other side, it does make it harder for them to approach. He's staying on the high ground right now.
You got to be careful, too. That Zen knows exactly where you are, and sometimes those right clicks can really connect here. Fleta, though, you can tell he really wants to take out AimGod. That's priority target number 1 here for this Pharah.
Yeah.
Once the Zen is down, then nothing is going to contest this Pharah. He's going for it again. AimGod not knocked off there. Fusions does get the kill into Ryujehong already, so a little bit of trouble. They do get the DMAC onto Note. So maybe Seoul can roll back in here. They do have the respawn advantage.
All right,
they're not dead, just DMAC'd, which is worse than death, pretty much.
A fate worse than death for Divas.
It is a fate worse than death, man. Fleta goes in, gets aggressive. He's nearly got that grab. Goes in for a kill on AimGod, and he's going to barrage the hallway. Gets a couple kills, even one on Diffusion, and that's going to be Seoul Dynasty taking point A. Not a lot that Boston can do to prevent this, but now, like you said, the ult economy probably is going to get reset here.
I mean, that's a beautiful combo of the EMP and the Fleta just dropping down straight into a barrage.
Yeah.
But you know your ult economy is going to get reset anyway, but it took so long to set up.
Right.
It took a minute and a half of their time, and now they've got to push through at an ult disadvantage. Look at what Boston is going to have. Are you kidding me? All 3 support ultimates, a grab and a self-destruct. Boston can slow roll this one easy.
Yeah, I don't think Boston's too worried, but they got to kind of keep it together. You still have to play it safe. As you advance onto Seoul, waiting for those ultimates. AimGod did get hacked. He's got the trance, but he needs to survive through that assault from Munchkin. Looks like he does for now.
And what do you do if you're Seoul? You just got to poke. What they're doing is they're poking because they don't want to actually advance this card or force a fight right now.
You got to go crazy now. Here's the sound barrier. Ryujehong going into the Transcendence, Seoul putting everything they've got into this one push. Now the grab, though, for Boston, and that's going to be the end of it. Boston Uprising just rolling through Seoul. It was a foregone conclusion. If you looked at the alt economy, it was going to have to be a miracle for Seoul Dynasty to win this fight, but that means it will be Boston Uprising going up 2-0 in this series.
Yeah, Boston ground out enough time to get their alt economy rolling. Seoul had to win A very fast. They didn't.
Yeah.
The swap killed them.
Well, Seoul Dynasty certainly looking shaky here today, but Boston back to full strength with Fusions back in the lineup. It's great to see. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's halftime.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
Pass into
The
the
Boston
eye.
Uprising are trying to recover from a devastating loss to the Dragons last week. So far, things are looking pretty good. They're up 2-0 at the half over the Dynasty. Welcome back into the Blizzard Arena, everybody. Make some noise. You guys are here. We're watching some great games. We got Boston. We got Seoul. And with Fusions back in the lineup, this is all Boston so far. They're up 2-0, but it's been very close. Zoe, I want to start with you because things started off on control, and this was a very, very clean game for both teams.
It really was. Boston did take it 2-0, but that score does not represent what we actually saw in game. I was really impressed with both teams because we saw so much more cohesion and coordination from both teams on that very map than I've seen from either of them in the past. Specifically, all the gravitons Dragon Surge and Diva Bomb combos they pulled out. Everyone got involved in those. We saw the Lucio stepping in at the right time. We saw some great shadows, great pins also from both of those main tanks. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch this, actually.
Completely agree with you there, Zoe. It has been really sublime gameplay from both of these teams. Their combos are on point from both of them. Boston just getting the edge when it comes to their ult economy, which I will touch on a little bit later as well as to the reasons why they are so strong in this matchup here. But overall, very, very impressed with both these teams. The combos, which we see a lot of teams messing up in the Overwatch League recently, the Graviton Surge, the South Strokes leading them into each other. Both these teams nailing it day in, day out so far throughout this match.
If you're a Boston fan, one thing you're excited about today is, yes, you saw Color Hex in his last match, but never alongside Fusions. Both the new faces for the Uprising playing together today. What have you seen from those two?
Yeah, so far, very impressed as well. Color Hex, this guy, he's a New Zealander, he's a Kiwi. He has been honestly playing very well, especially considering the competition that he's up against. He's up against Fletter. This guy, he's made a name for himself, believe it or not.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And you've also got Fisher, one of the most aggressive Reinhardts in the league, so it's difficult to get value out, but he has been performing this match so far.
Absolutely. Fisher looks so good in that second map, but it's still Boston getting the win. Let's talk about Seoul, though, because now you're in a do-or-die situation. You lose one more map, this match is over. What do you have to see from the Seoul Dynasty if they're going to get back in this series and take it all the way to a Game 5?
For me personally, Puckett, it's all about the Zenyatta play, in particular for Seoul Dynasty. And I'm looking at Ryujehong here, and I've got a bit of a reputation for being a bit harsh on the man. It has happened in the past, but he was dying first in a lot of these engagements, and his Transcendence usage has been questionable in this match, to say it lightly. He hasn't realistically been the best with his ultimate timings, and AimGod has been outplaying him in that regard as well. AimGod's statistics have been putting up better numbers throughout. His support ultimate usage has been better as well. And I do wonder how much of this is actually Jaehong's fault. I don't want to pin all this on him.
I was going to say, is this a tank problem? What's happening here?
Exactly, Puckett. Because it often will be the main caller in this team that's going to be calling for us to use ultimates to win these fights. You can see the statistics here. Look at these numbers. AimGod is outclassing him when it comes to hero damage done, when it comes to the healing that he's getting out of his transcendences. A little bit in the final blows and a little bit in the deaths, but overall, he's having a much better game than Jaehong. But I do want to touch on it. I don't want to put all the blame on Jaehong here, because at the end of the day as well, it's going to be the main caller in this team, whether that's Fisher or Jexa. I'm not too sure. I think there might be a bit of a clash when it comes to the calls in this team here. We're going to have to keep an eye on that as we move forward throughout the league. But so far, that's what they need to work on if they want a better second half.
Hot take from Brent, could be a communication issue for Seoul. Zoe, before the break, I got to ask you, who's in the running so far every single match? We have our player of the match sponsored by Omen by HP. Who's in the running right now?
I think you can make an argument for the majority of the players we already seen on the stage, but for this particular one, I think I would give my vote to AimGod. His transcendences were actually insane. I think he was the main reason why the team got away with winning on Numbani, and I expect more of that in the second half.
She's going with Boston Zenyatta. I'm still going with Fusion. Let us know in the chat right now who's the MVP so far. That's going to do it for halftime. We'll be back Game 3 after this.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
We are back here at the Blizzard Arena in beautiful, sunny California. It was rainy this morning. It's sunny now, though, so that is a true fact. But right now...
I think it's dark outside right now.
Is it? I don't know. I'm just inside watching video games. I don't know what's going on outside.
It's not sunny.
I've heard there's a world outside the Blizzard Arena, but I have not been there too often. But guess what, Monty?
Time still eludes you.
It does. That's right. And time is running out for the Seoul Dynasty. You like that one? As they are down 0-2 to Boston Uprising. If they lose this next map, they are going to lose this series. And coming into this one, remember, we talked about it, that the strength that we thought they would have is Michelle's Sombra play. We know Boston struggled with the Sombra, but it just hasn't materialized. Seoul Dynasty unwilling to do it so far.
And aha is the other thing we'll say, because Aim God has been amazing this match, like we talked about at halftime.
Really
but not only statistically, he was dealing 4,500 more damage than Jaehong and healing him at the same time in that last
crazy,
map.
Actually, yeah.
But it was really... We saw Boston's plan against the Sombra, which is hide Aim God and trance through the EMP, and he's been doing a great job with his positioning. So that's not a thing that we can quantify with stats.
Sure.
That's just sick play.
Well, the thing is, too, it was a Munchkin Sombra, right? We still have yet to see Michelle's Sombra in this series.
Well, guess what? You're not seeing it right now either.
I was like, did I miss something? But he's not playing. He's not. He's playing Diva again, Monty. Boston Uprising. Oh, they just walk onto Jaehong. What? Note just hunts him down. Note is like becoming one of the most deadly Zenyatta hunters in the entire league, man. Remember what he did to Raucus when they played Houston?
That was an amazing mind game. That was an amazing mind game by Boston Uprising. So normally you think, wow, it's Ryan Goats versus Ryan Goats. That Diva's probably going to be coming through that doorway. Note was on the low ground and just boosted up
popped over there.
and popped Jaehong. They did not expect him to be there. And
telling you,
obviously, what Seoul should have done is just speed boosted themselves into the door, but they didn't even have that opportunity.
I'm like, if Zenyatta was like an animal in the encyclopedia, you'd look it up and it would say, under its natural predators, it would just have a picture of Note.
He's really good at killing Zens. I know a lot of people were criticizing Raucus after the Boston Outlaws match.
No, man, Note's just good at killing Zens.
Note was hunting Raucus down.
He was. I talked to him a little bit after that match. He says he loves it, man. He loves hunting Zens. There's a nice shatter from Fissure. So Seoul Dynasty able to win this defensive fight at least. So they've slowed down the Boston Uprising freight train, but barely. Boston still with 6:30 on the clock here.
Yeah, that's pretty funny stuff right there.
Yeah, and you're okay with losing that, honestly, if you're Boston, because you've got a ton of ultimates coming up soon. That was just sort of a push. I mean, you give a lot of ultimate charge over to Seoul, but, whatevs.
Yeah, across both seasons, that's an interesting stat, 10-1. Yeah, they used to be undefeated for a long time on this map last season.
That's true.
Very different roster now.
Yep, very different meta as well. But Boston's still looking like they will not be denied. Kellick's looking for the sick boop. Trying to get in behind that Reinhardt if he can. He's going to have to dodge the self-destruct first, though. Able to do just that as Fusions walks onto the point. Now Seoul Dynasty scrambling. They've got Fleda's grab, but we'll see when they use it. That's going to be a grab from the Boston side. Here comes a bigger bang. No kills out of that one, though. Now the shatter comes in from Fusion's counter shatter onto Seoul. That's going to be Jexa taken out. And Boston with a good start here in this fight.
Aim God fragging out, too.
Yeah, man.
Again, dealing a lot of damage, and now the control percent is going to start to work up in favor of Boston.
Boston Uprising, they come out of this halftime looking even better than they did going into it. They're looking unstoppable right now. What can you say? It's going to be a sound barrier from Seoul as they try to find some sort of purchase on the point. Jaehong does kill Fusions, and maybe off the back of that shatter from Fissure, they'll be able to win a fight. Looks like they will, but man, that was about as close as it gets. 91.3% taken by Boston Uprising. They're going to need that full last tick again, but that's not tough to get.
Yeah, and credit to Fissure, too. That's 2 fights in a row with Shatter that he's won for Seoul.
Yeah.
They're clutching it out, especially that first one that he had. Could have been a snowball disaster in favor of the Boston Uprising with their big ult economy. Didn't happen thanks to Fissure's Shatter skills. And, of course, we know Fissure is a super clutch player.
Yeah. Like, him and Carpe kind of stand out in my mind as the two players that come up when their teams really, really need them to in the last possible moment. But you don't generally want to be in a situation that requires that if you're that team to begin with.
Yeah, Aim got almost another trance, too.
Yeah, he's going to get it now.
Might not be expecting this.
We'll see. There's a grab from Boston again. It's going to be the trance from Jaehong. And now the self-destruct coming in. Munchkin not caught by that. Put his shield up in time. There's the grab now from Fleta. And no kills out of that self-destruct. It looks like maybe, but they just couldn't get rid of the shield from Fusions. But now Fusions slamming down that Earth Shatter. They try to protect Fleta, and they do just that. So Boston still needing to grind through this. Now Fleta coming in from behind, nearly killed Blase before the healing came in. And Fissure again gets a big shatter. That's the third fight in a row that in the end has been Fissure's Earth Shatter that's turned things around. a kill on Fusions, and now as Color Hex goes down, that's going to be another one fight by Seoul. So Seoul Dynasty finally putting together a good defense here, and Boston Uprising used pretty much everything they had in that last fight.
Yeah, Seoul easily stabilizing there. Boston never really had an opportunity to get any efficient combos off, thanks to the positioning pretty far back from the Seoul Dynasty. Nice stagger.
Yeah, big one on the note. Ouch. Well, Seoul Dynasty at least has given themselves some breathing room. There's still 3.5 minutes, so Boston Uprising has plenty of time to build up more ultimates and just roll in and take that last tick. It's still looking good for Boston, but Seoul's at least eaten a lot of time after the time bank, right?
Yeah, they have, and Seoul also super happy because they can just slowly use ultimates here on this defense.
That's what they're hoping anyway.
Just have that strong economy for a very long time.
Yep. All right, Boston coming in from the cave. Here we go. Going in with that rally. They're going to get the Transcendence out of Ryujehong right away. Just going to hang out in the middle there. Has to back away at the end. Going to be the rally now from Seoul. Giving themselves the extra armor. It's a standoff on the point right now. Neither team really wanted to give any inch. There's the grab. Fleta just lobs it in. He was watching that defense matrix cool down. Ooh, that self-destruct clearing off a lot of the shields that Boston had. Now Fissure goes down, though. They're able to turn it back around, and Seoul Dynasty, again, just gets rocked in this fight, and that's going to be it, man. No stopping Boston now. They are going to finish point B. They're going to have about 3 minutes left in the time bank with that.
Yeah, they'll feel very confident about that. They keep surviving these Graviton self-destruct combos when they don't have beat. Like, that shouldn't be happening so consistently, but their shield placement has been good enough that Boston's been able to survive.
Just unable to get rid of that shield from Reinhardt. Do it.
Yeah, all right. Take a look at this last replay here as well.
Oh, Fissure's animation got canceled by the Brigitte there.
Yep.
Fusions comes like in with the charge. And,
beautiful play by Fusions. Of course, it can be hard to see things when everybody's so close together, but Fusions making the plays.
The mosh pit is hard to decipher sometimes. That's for sure.
It's a great mosh pit. Lots of shiny lights in there.
Yeah, I was known to do some moshing back in the day.
I don't know, Joe. You've said
it's true.
You said a lot of like "hello, fellow kids" stuff. that might be like a test.
Oh yes, back in my day, we were known to mosh once in a while.
Wow.
we learned the Power Man 5000, Static X, yes. A little bit of the Slipknot. And my friends would mosh. We would mosh all night.
I did some moshing in my time.
I don't know why I had a British accent there.
You went
back in the good old days.
You went so far back in time. It was before the British came to America, I think. Right
Listen to our hardcore music on our wax cylinders, on our Edison home phonographs. Yep. A simpler time, DeCristo. Simpler time. But now, things getting a bit complex for Seoul. 2:27 on the clock for Boston. Seoul Dynasty needs a great attack if they are going to stay alive in this series. What in the world do we talk about on cast sometimes?
Well, Winston going to be doing the usual Winston thing of trying to delay people as they go through there. 42% the ult charge. And the whole point of these kind of defenses, if you're playing Winston triple tank, triple support, you're just buying time and trying to get Primal Rage as fast as you can, because the Reinhardt comp is going to win if they can get onto the point and you don't have an ult advantage.
That's the thing. Seoul Dynasty on the high ground now, trying to find a way to advance onto Boston.
Fleta?
Oh, he's getting aggressive. Trying to put some pressure up onto Note and Fusions up there, I suppose. Fusions, though, getting closer and closer to that Primal Rage. Seoul Dynasty starting to chip away at the control percent here. Time for Diva to raise her APM, apparently. Fissure, ooh, with a nice charge on the Color Hex. That's going to be exactly what Seoul needs. You got to get that Zarya first. That's what they did. There goes Fusions, and it looks like Boston going to just try to buy as much time as they can. Save that ultimate percentage for point B now.
Yeah, and that was a situation, Noah, where I think Boston got confused because that Zarya positioning on the arch is really unusual for Reinhardt attacks. And they sort of got their attention split right there, and that gave Fissure access to the back of the point where he could zone somebody into a corner and actually execute the charge onto Color Hex. That was creative from Seoul.
Well, got the point A, and it got them a lot of ultimates about ready to go here on point B. They do have a chance to just roll this. Boston Uprising, if Seoul goes in right now, Boston definitely shorthanded the ult department. They got to finish this fight fast. That's not what Seoul's been good at so far in the series. Pushing Seoul back again. Jaehong pops that Transcendence. Gotta watch out for that self-destructive shield. Gets up just in time. They push Boston off the payload, but they gotta get the kills. There goes Fusions first. Now chasing the way. Aim God pops his own down ultimate to get back on the point, but there's the grab. They need kills out of this one. Can they do it? Aim God down. Another good one for Fissure. Ooh, Fusion's knocked down by that self-destruct, or that shatter rather. Kellex gets the sound barrier off, so Boston with another opportunity to fight this. Now the grab comes in for Boston. Can Seoul maintain? They've got the barrier. They're waiting for it. And you know what? Michelle's just going to throw in the self-destruct. Not going to get anybody, but it does create enough space for Seoul Dynasty to push people off. They are grinding out this fight. And now, Boston Uprising just trying to take as much time off the time bank as they can before they potentially lose B, and they will. Seoul Dynasty, for once in this series, executing exactly how they needed to do it.
Note faked a self-destruct at the end, which baited the sound barrier out. That was actually really good by Boston, but they couldn't actually win it thanks to having a fewer number of players.
Quick break, and when we come back, extra time on Anubis. Temple of Anubis.
So what I was saying there is, Note, when the grab came down, Note popped himself up in the Diva, which made it look like he actually had a self-destruct, which caused the sound barrier to come out, which is actually like a really cool play, but unfortunately Boston actually couldn't convert off of that, and they find themselves at a pretty big disadvantage now.
In the end, you're just one of those snakes that looks like it's a poisonous snake because of the colors, but it's not. No danger at all.
I think Note's been pretty dangerous this match, but
He's usually a coral snake, but he was a milk snake in that fight.
he was a milk snake in that
That's right.
fight.
Seoul Dynasty on the defense is Boston Uprising with less time in the time bank. 5:23 for Seoul Dynasty. That's the best push that we've seen from them all day long. Boston, all right, scattering. Seoul Dynasty getting a little bit aggressive here. I mean, when you look at the way Seoul's moving right now, it just feels like you see the confidence, but that's a great rotation from Boston.
Yeah, however, they were, like, Seoul was playing aggressive because of Note's positioning last time.
Oh, Jexe.
Doesn't help him this time, though.
Not so much. Down there, Lucio. Now they're down there, Reinhardt. Boston able to catch Seoul a bit unawares. Looked like they were backing off and made the quick move around to the side. Goodbye, Michelle. That's going to be a quick point A from Boston.
So the reason why Seoul was playing so far forward was they were looking for Note again, who was hiding on the low ground last time and popped Jaehong. However, Boston was all together, and that meant they could speed boost through the choke without any kind of contest. There are some awesome mind games going on from Boston in this match.
Oh, this has turned into a really great series with this map right now. Seoul Dynasty trying to just sustain here. They've got some ultimates coming up soon, though. So we might end up seeing a fairly even fight ultimate-wise, depending on how long this takes to get going here.
There's a lot of poking right now. Boston really wants a couple more ultimates. Rally's going to be the trigger for them to engage and start pushing forward.
A little bit extra armor. Seoul Dynasty, they're going to use their Transcendence to get aggressive onto Boston. Boston has Aim God use his as well. Now, the dangerous ults are up. We've got grabs for both teams pretty much here. Yeah, Fletta's got his now too. Munchkin hiding for it. All right, there's a grab. Gets eaten. Both grabs eaten at the same time. Sound barriers over both teams now. Ultimate parity here as both self-destructs get used as well. And finally, Fusion's taken out by Munchkin. Fissure responding as well. And Seoul Dynasty, after one of the weirdest engages I have seen yet this season, able to come out on top.
That was really weird, Doa. As you say, Fusion's tried to go for the Hail Mary charge
I guess so.
onto, into the mix, but didn't actually end up working out for them. A little bit shooty, got stunned by the Brigitte.
The DJ is the one in the mix in Overwatch.
That's right.
Yeah, not Reinhardt.
Never go into the mix.
DJ in the mix.
All right.
Boston Uprising trying again. I can't believe both grabs got eaten there. Actually, I can totally believe both grabs got eaten there. Here we go. Boston on the point. Double support ultimates available. for Seoul. They've got the tools to survive this, to weather the storm, and just 10 seconds remaining for Boston. Gonna go some now. They got to keep Fled alive, though, on the Dynasty side. Jexe looking for the boops. Has to back away now. Fleta waiting for that grab. Here we go. Into overtime now for Boston on their overtime attack run. They're going to go in on the back of the Transcendence from both ends here. Waiting for it to go down. Kellex does not have the sound barrier yet. Opportunity for Seoul. The grab used, though, by Boston. There's going to be the sound barrier from Seoul. Munchkins able to take down Fusions. And there's Fissure back with another big self-destruct, or not, another big shatter, rather. A lot of ultimates being used. That self-destruct does not gain Boston much, and that's OT ticking. Seoul Dynasty able to hold Boston to 1 point in OT.
Now you wonder whether there's going to be an interesting defense here for the Boston Uprising. You're effectively all in on A defense.
Yep.
I want to see the Junkrat Doa. I want to see the Orisa.
Now we will see what Seoul's got in mind. We'll see what Boston's got in mind. A lot of Zumba fans in the audience today, judging by those signs seen. Hopefully we'll get to see him in lineup at some point in the season.
Yeah, it is a bit curious that we haven't seen him yet, but then again,
I miss Zumba too, guys.
Michelle does have so much flexibility, especially in this meta, going back and forth between the Sombra and the Diva, and obviously Fleta has better flexibility for other heroes.
Well, that's really it, isn't it? Zumba we know is a great off tank, but doesn't apparently seem to have the flexibility that Fleta offers at this point. So
yeah, or Michelle on the DPS at least. So we'll see. May see Zumba back again.
A lot of Lunatic High fans from back in the day still carry that flame for Zumba, Jehong.
So do you, Doa. So do you.
I do. It is true. It is true.
Man, I'm a little bummed to see this composition from Boston, but I think the answer is like, if they draw, they win this match. So they can give up A as long as they can full hold B. So I guess I get it.
Very true. That makes sense. You're setting up for point B hold, right? You're holding off A as long as you can, and then hopefully you've got the ult percentage to make it last on B. Seoul Dynasty going for the 3-3 again.
They're not running Winston this time.
Not this time, no. No. Ooh, nearly demeched immediately. Jehong down, though. They get him anyway, and Fissure taken out. Whoa, Boston Uprising. They lose Note's mech, and that may come back to haunt them, but initial fight won by Boston.
That was interesting. So they played that like they were playing a Winston, intercepting them there, but they actually had the Reinhardt. They just went in for the aggressive pin. But
interesting.
I don't know if that was the play, because like you say, Note got demeched, and that might be disastrous.
You can get that mech back fast, but Seoul knows they've got a big window here to just charge the point.
But Seoul can walk through the choke because they have a defensive matrix, so...
That's the plan anyway. They're going in. They know Note doesn't have the Diva mech yet. If they can kill him, that would be huge. Boston Uprising scrambling a little bit. Note so close to getting the mech back. 94%. 99. Is he going to get it? Gets it back. That is crucial for Boston. Dangerous, scary moment for the Uprising. But now they're back up to full strength on the defense.
One thing they did have going for them was Fusions got that shatter up really quickly, and Fissure, even though there wasn't a defensive matrix on the other side, wasn't able to build it with the Fire Strike.
Here we go. Going to be the rally from Boston. Now they're going to have to try to use Jehong's Transcendence to get an aggression here. Fusion's really low. Can they finish him? Everyone on Boston trying to keep Fusions alive, and they can't quite do it. They do lose Munchkin in the process, so Fissure in trouble, down as well. And Boston coming back with another one fight here on A. This point A defense has gone better than they could have even hoped for.
Yeah, I love the changes in tactics we're seeing from the Uprising. They are giving Seoul so many looks. Like their first attack, they played Reinhardt, but they played it as if they were playing a Winston. And this defense, they're playing Reinhardt, but they're playing it as if they were playing a Winston. Like, it's really weird, but I think the mind games are really winning.
That's the thing, is these teams trying their best to outsmart each other with every move, every play here. Seoul Dynasty with a couple tank ultimates as they walk into this. Aim God not afraid. He's got the Transcendence, but now he gets stunned. Oh, that's dangerous. They do have the sound barrier, though. Fled it down. He can't quite do it. Oh, but there's a 3K from Michelle. That self-destruct is huge for Seoul. Can they chain this into a point A take, though? Finishing off Note. Now you got to get on the point.
Yeah, they are going to get onto the point. So finally, they're going to take point A, Doa.
Yeah, just leave Note. Just stagger that guy.
Yeah, they're going to leave him there for a little bit longer.
Why not?
He does not get his mech up, obviously. Does have a self-destruct now for this defense. Stagger actually didn't end up mattering that much. And Seoul had to use a lot.
Yeah.
Aim God will be frustrated that he used that trance.
Well, yeah. I mean, use it after you get shattered. You lose a couple members. That's a rough thing for Zen.
Yeah, it was rough. Good combo from Seoul that time.
Yep.
Able to capitalize on those eliminations. And now, the poke duel. Boston really wants this grab if they can get it.
I mean, Seoul Dynasty only needs the first tick to point B to win the map. That's a crucial thing here. Boston needs to have a Herculean hold here. Fissure had a lot of good shatters on this point before. Gets the shield up in time. There's the counter shatter. Nice fire strike through the middle of it. And there goes Fusions. Seoul Dynasty may have just won this series. Color Hex, or not series, this map anyway. As Color Hex goes down. Calyx trying to just delay for as long as he can. Soul's taken no time on the point just yet. Calyx has been playing great all series. Note DMAC now. Seoul Dynasty still just waiting, but it's 1-for-1 now for Boston, just trickling people onto the point. And eventually, they're going to have to give this one up. There's a grab, all right. Munchkin trapped in it. Jaehong there with the trance. Things are still going okay for Seoul Dynasty. Note being annoying. They're just going to solo shatter him to try to finish this one off. But there are more respawns. Can they get there? No. And Seoul Dynasty keeps themselves alive in this series. They will take Anubis.
Yeah, and Note threw the self-destruct in there because he wanted to buy the time to get Color Hex.
Yep.
The Graviton Surge. Seoul had too much of an advantage, though. Easy roll for the Dynasty into a map win.
Boston with another chance to finish this on map 4. We'll see if they can do just that right after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.
Welcome back, Seoul Dynasty, keeping themselves alive with a win on Temple of Anubis.
And here's something interesting, Noah. In this match so far, Seoul has had 180 elims, and Boston has had 108. And yet Boston is up.
Well,
and that last map, I mean, that's what it looked like. And overall, the first two maps of this series, Seoul had more eliminations than Boston, but Boston was winning. And in total, 44 deaths for the Boston Uprising that last map, and 27 for the Seoul Dynasty. And yet it was really close. And the answer is, Boston is playing some really, weird but really smart strats right now, and it's throwing the Dynasty off.
I mean, it also kind of shows, again, Seoul struggles at finishing off, big ultimate combos if they're getting a few kills here and there, but still losing the fights. Here we go. Boston Uprising. On the attack, it's going to be the Bastion defense again from Seoul Dynasty. Jaehong's been known to play this Bastion in the past, so not super surprising, actually.
Yeah, they are going to try and force something different out of Boston, and Blase wants to run with the Hammond here, and this is a pretty common counter strat with the Sombra and the Hammond.
It's quiet.
Something different.
Too quiet. As Color Hex sneaks around the back with that Sombra. Michelle going to chase him down, and Fusions gets booped off by Fleta. Whoops.
Yeah, trying to get
spotted.
They tried to distract.
And Note, again, they're going to do a bit of resetting. I'm going to give Note the reset on that one, even though Fleta hit him again. I could have flown back, but Fleta not getting anybody close to his Bastion.
Yeah, they've got the Hammond behind still. Hammond by Big Earls at the moment. They're trying to set up Color Hex on the Sombra.
Yep.
It's a good opportunity for them to dive. Michelle is playing back.
Oh, Color Hex in a little bit of trouble. Has to translocate again. He's slowly building that EMP, but not too fast. Fusions did get hacked a little bit there, though, by Munchkin on the opposing Sombra. Of Blase over on the Hammond now. They're getting aggressive, yeah. Just deciding to dive onto that Bastion. That's what they're going to do. Jaehong out now, and there goes Fleta. Not really a big chance for a res here from Jexa, it doesn't look like. A shell down as well, yeah. Everyone just dying on the cart. Ooh, Jaehong. He's going to go ahead and use that ultimate, but I think he's going to swap. Yeah. Just popping the ultimate. So I was like, what? He's not
You
going
heard
to
it
get back there, yeah.
You heard it, but he was in spawn, so it wasn't very exciting.
So they're going to swap, even though Jexa had that Mercy ultimate. I mean, when that comp gets broken, you can't really make the pieces do anything individually, so you got to make the switch.
Yeah, and the question is, was it worth like the minute and a half or so you took off the clock? Potentially, especially if you still have the EMP. So Seoul here, their idea is they need to get this EMP off first. They're going to know Color Hex as his, and if they can get an ult economy off this, might be good.
Oh, EMP from Color Hex. Jexa down immediately. That was a great EMP, man. Hit everybody on Seoul Dynasty. And slowly but surely, Boston grinding through this fight now. Jaehong just hopping on the payload. That does not work too well. Seoul Dynasty again. The call is die on the payload, and you just try to buy as much time as you can. The aggressive point A defense, it does give you the opportunity. Oh, that's a cheeky little stall by Munchkin there. Buying another second or two, but, you do get that extra fight at the end of point A if you play the aggressive point A defense on Route 66, but not working out for Seoul, that's for sure.
No, and especially not when they lose the EMP battle and get EMP'd first. Now Boston Uprising just switching back to 3-3 composition. And Seoul here, they're going with what we saw earlier, which is we assume Michelle is going to switch over to the Zarya immediately. Problem with staying on this Doa is that they don't have much damage.
You don't.
How do you eliminate somebody on Boston even if you EMP them?
I mean, you have to just get an immediate and effective follow-up after an EMP. You need to have no hesitation.
I mean, against a sound barrier, like.
I don't know, you EMP the Lucio, man. What do you want? I don't know.
He's not.
Perfect EMPs are required.
Kellex is hiding right now. They're waiting for this.
He knows. Self-destruct thrown in my note. There's the EMP. Kellex sound bears immediately. And Michelle tosses in the self-destruct. Fusions does get finished off by Jexa eventually. And so Seoul Dynasty does stall the payload. So despite the sound barrier, Seoul was ready.
Well, Blase and Fusions didn't get the sound barrier. So that was actually a little bit of a mistiming by Kellex and communication with the team, which gave Seoul that opening. Had those two been hit by the sound barrier, I think that fight would have gone much differently.
Certainly possible. Still no Zarya for Seoul Dynasty. Really bizarre that they're running Munchkin on the Sombra, Michelle still on that Diva. That on the Brigitte. So, Seoul Dynasty taking the high ground here. They're going to be able to drop on the payload, try to defend again.
This is not a good composition from Seoul. They need to switch off, but because they won that last fight, they didn't really have time to go change out the Diva.
I mean, as long as they're buying time, I suppose that's that. There's a Transcendence for Jaehong. From behind comes the Sombra. That's a big shatter coming in from Fissure here. Color X knocked down, but he gets saved by Aimgod's ultimate. Fissure, though, not so lucky as he's taken out by the Boston Uprising. That's going to be the end of that fight. Seoul Dynasty, now they have a chance to switch here. Will they do it?
Yes, they will do it, Doa. I have to assume they will. This would be too weird of a composition to continue running on this point. They're Munchkin's going to try to find... Ooh, he's going to go down there. Michelle finally switching over to the Zarya. So this was Seoul's plan coming into this match. However, that's a really good stagger, and I'm not sure they're even going to get a chance to defend here, especially with Kellex threatening to boot them if they come through the doorway.
No, that's just going to be point 8. Taken cleanly by Boston. 3 minutes on the clock to now push through C. Seoul Dynasty scrambling to find any sort of way to get a good solid stop onto Boston, because so far it's only been like little bits here and there. They haven't really gotten a strong hold all map.
I think Seoul needed to switch off this D.Va earlier. This is all of a sudden becoming a very large problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice hack.
Oh, yeah, that definitely does work. Munchkin waiting. He's got the EMP as well. Has to translocate out. Barely escapes with life, but he gets to the health pack.
They bought time, though, because Note couldn't re-mech while hacked.
Right. Yeah, after that self-destruct, Note struggling a little bit. And Michelle just getting aggressive now. Full charge on that Zarya. This is where you can be aggressive if you're the Dynasty, but you do have to worry about that grab. You know Boston has those ultimates online, and you don't want to get caught. Another hack comes in on Fusions this time. So the Reinhardt vulnerable. That's going to let Seoul continue to stall the payload. Rally now for Blase. Rally on the other side for Seoul. Both teams staring each other in the eye. And there goes Kellex. Fissure gets him with a lucky fire strike. Or should I say skillful. That's going to be Seoul Dynasty just rolling over Boston now. Boston Uprising just saving the ults for the next push.
I mean, the mind games were so real there, Doa. Kellex and Aim God, both of their ultimates up. Same with Munchkin on the EMP. Both teams have learned, though, from playing this series that it's a game of cat and mouse. And
sure is, yeah.
Boston's been really good at hiding their supports.
They've taken turns each being the cat and the mouse, that's for sure. Munchkin, he is the cat now. Oh, there's a grab from Boston. Gonna try to take out Seoul, but there's a big charge going through. Aim God finishes off Fissure. There's the EMP onto Boston. Oh, but Aim God, he predicted it. He got the Transcendence out just in time. Boston Uprising kept alive. Aim God has been an all-star all series long.
This is such a cool game plan from Boston Uprising, Doa. They knew exactly what everybody else knew coming in, but they've adapted incredibly well to the threat of the Sombra. They've learned from their previous matches, and they are implementing it tonight.
It's just not the same Sombra for Seoul, though. They're trying different things tonight. They just don't seem to be working. Oh, and that's going to be a shatter that never lands for Fissure. And now, Sound Barrier for Boston as they try to push this one home. Fissure down again. There goes Jexe. And it looks like Seoul Dynasty just going to give this one up right here. Nobody there to stop the payload at Boston with a pretty great push here on Route 66.
Yeah, the eliminations too finally going heavily in Boston's favor, which I think really shows, because this was a quite convincing push, finishing with that 43 seconds.
Yeah. Well, let's send it over to Danny for some quick insight on this match.
Thanks, Doa and Monty. So I got to talk to Seoul Dynasty during halftime, and they told me that going into the match, they thought Boston was going to play aggressively, but as it turns out, they had a more of a defensive gameplay, and that's what threw them off and ultimately cost them 2 maps before the halftime. And they're now down 1-2. Let's see if Seoul Dynasty can actually, tie things up. Back to you guys, casters.
Thanks, Danny. We all wonder that. Will Seoul Dynasty be able to tie it up? It's going to be tough.
I do wonder what they mean by defensively, though. I assume they mean that they're hiding these supports and playing around the EMP.
Maybe.
Because they are waiting quite a while for the EMP to be activated.
My question still is Seoul Dynasty. What was it about the way that they were playing their Sombra compositions before that they felt was just working so poorly that they changed Michelle off the Sombra completely, that now Munchkin is the one playing it?
I really just think it's a factor of when they're swapping some of their heroes around. They're trying to change some of their swap timings. And, I mean, also, we talked about this. Michelle has great stats in some categories, but pretty bad ones in others. And if they're so concerned that his synergy isn't there, like, again, you can hit everybody with a hack, but if nobody dies, it's a bad hack.
Here we go, Seoul Dynasty. On the attack here, Munchkin on the Widowmaker, trying to find some early shots perhaps on this aggressive defense from Boston. See how long he sticks on it. And nope, there's a swap over to the Brigida. Just looking for those early picks possibly.
Yep.
Seoul not going to find him though. And Boston Uprising is going to hang out in the train car for a little while. D.Va, please.
No cursing in front of the children.
That's right. Here we go. Fusions, boot back into Seoul Dynasty. Manages to get behind his team a little bit. Few members going down. Fissure the one. paying the price on Seoul. Seoul gets a couple kills, though, so they can keep pushing this off of the power that Fleta has on this Zarya. So despite losing the Reinhardt, they are going to eventually win the fight. Boston Uprising going to have to pull back and think about what they want to do at the end of point A.
Yeah, Jexay's been playing really aggressively on the last couple of maps, and he's trying to deal with Aim God right now, and he's successful. He's actually bouncing his way back there on Lucio. The difference in positioning is Kelix is often up on the walls looking to displace tanks, and Jexay is weaving his way into the back line to kill the Zenyatta.
Yeah. You got to do that if you're the Lucio right now. I think you either need to find the Zen, you got to try to find the Rein, push him into your own team. On board with Jexay now, there's going to be the grab. Color Hex using it. Self-destruct gets 2. Note finds a couple. They were able to get it right in the middle where the shield couldn't cover everybody. And that's going to be Seoul Dynasty sent back to spawn.
That was a great self-destruct placement right behind the sign on Big Earls there. He kind of jammed it in between the grab. Precise placement of the exploding Diva mech.
Well, he got it right to where even if Fissure spun around, he couldn't cover everybody with his shield. So at the end of the day, you just got to decide who lives and who dies on your team. And we found out who Fissure likes the least, I think, right there.
Well,
That's
this
my
is what
expert
happens
analysis.
when Fissure plays God.
That's right. He decides who lives and who dies to that. That's self-destruct. Now we know. Seoul Dynasty continuing to push here. Didn't have to wait long. It's going to be the rally now from Munchkin. Boston responding. And there's going to be, Kelix trying to get in the back. Trying to find that boop onto Fissure. Couldn't quite find it there. Jexay responding. Oh, but there's a nice shadow coming from Fusion's immediate sound barrier, though, from Jexay, trying to keep his team alive. Fissure, not so lucky, though. Good attack, actually. Boston on that Reinhardt. There's going to be the grab now. Can they win this one? Maybe with that self-destruct, the boop. Not getting any kills. It looked like it might have set some up, but instead, Seoul back to spawn, and that's going to be rough, man. Oh, and Jaehong using the Transcendence at the end. Awful fight for Seoul Dynasty. They lost a lot in that one.
Yeah, it looked like the setup might be okay for Jexay, but the self-destruct wasn't in the right place in order to finish off the elimination.
You know, you're grasping at straws, too, with Fissure down already.
Yeah, and look at this, too. Boston is just in an excellent position right now with only a minute remaining. Seoul threw both of their support ultimates at it. Maybe they can get a rally in the next 60 seconds, but it's going to be rough.
It's looking like a full hold for Boston to me, man. I mean, Boston, this is their game to lose right now. They've got the tools. They've got the strategy. They seem to have Seoul downloaded here. But there goes Blase, as I see it. Right as I say it. Maybe cast a curse, but the Graviton Surge, enough to get a couple, and there's Note with 2 more. Jexay and Fissure out of the fight. Just 30 seconds now for Seoul.
I mean, they're going to be happy, though, that they got that, because at least you got the self-destruct, the grab, and the sound barrier out. Seoul's got another shot here to get to the payload.
It's something, at least. Seoul Dynasty with one last chance to just keep the map alive. If you lose this much time on point A, how in the world do you finish C? Even if they do complete this, it's going to be so rough for Seoul. They got to win a fight right here, though.
They've almost got that grab onto Fleta.
Yep. Waiting it out. 6 seconds. We're going to be in overtime. That's for sure. Boston Uprising being patient here. We're into OT. Fleta really wanting to find that grab. There's a rallies coming in. Oh, Fissure knocked down by Fusion's Earthshatter. Again, winning that Rhine duel, but here comes a grab. Can they get any kills out of it? That's a nice counter shatter from Fissure. Michelle with the self-destruct doesn't find any, but they do get Blase anyway. During the fight, there goes Fusion. So Seoul Dynasty, once again, barely able to take this fight at the very last moment. That was as close as it gets, but Seoul gives himself a bit more time here on Route 66.
And they did it because they had the second to last fight. They executed it so quickly, and they got 3 ults out, and that meant that Boston was in it at a disadvantage on the next one. That was a really good decision by Seoul just to all in immediately, knowing that there was time for a second engagement.
Yeah, very true. Here we go, Seoul Dynasty. Now they've got the sound barrier, but not much else. Meanwhile, Boston in a good position to delay again. 2 minutes now for Seoul. Back in the time bank. As they try to tie up this series. There's a grab. Here's a combo. And the shield turned just in time, but Blase gets the kill into Jexay anyway. There goes Fleta. Seoul Dynasty back to spawn.
Heading back one more time. And it'll be very difficult for them to push through in the next 1 minute and 45 seconds. If Seoul's going to do it, it probably is going to have to take overtime.
I mean, Seoul's going to have an extra support ultimate because Aim God's going to be a little while before he gets his trans online.
It's just a
Jaehong
matter
already
of
has his.
trying to push to this choke just takes time. You have to push. You have to rotate around the side. Kelix is there trying to move your tanks forward. Kelix's positioning has been fantastic in this series.
Oh man, really nearly bounced out Fissure there. He's gonna get it now. Oh, he does, but they do have the Transcendence to keep people alive. Sound Bearer for Kelix, sliding around the corner, getting it on as many people as he can. Pushing Seoul off to the side now. It's making Fissure play very cautiously here. And now they're going to get aggressive with Aim God's Transcendence. Fissure responds with the counter shatter. And there goes Blase. Here comes the self-destruct. No kills out of that. But again, it's all about pushing Boston back, creating the space for Seoul Dynasty to win that fight.
And they got no movement out of the cart. And that fight took basically a minute.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be another defense here. There was a lot used by the Seoul Dynasty. That was a great fight if you're a Boston Uprising fan.
Indeed.
It's a weird thing about Overwatch. Sometimes you just want to lose gracefully to give yourself a better chance in the future.
You're playing the long game, man. You know, that's how it is. Sometimes you just have to set yourself up for a victory later. Boston going to try to do that right now. They've got the rally. This is where they want to try to end this series, but they're going to get grabbed right away. Seoul Dynasty can't get any kills off of it, though, yet again. Oh, and there's the grab eaten. Michelle finds Color X's. Self-destruct. Finds Fissure anyway. Are you kidding me? Could not stay alive to that self-destruct, but Munchkin gets one on Diffusions. So Seoul Dynasty still with a chance here, but they are down to overtime yet again. Munchkin low, note, hunting him down, trying to get that kill. Blase down, couldn't quite finish him. That is agonizing for Note and Seoul Dynasty. I think they might just win this fight here. Aim God uses a Transcendence, but that's going to be an ultimate that he may want back as Seoul winning this fight, and it looks like they're going to take point B. They are still alive.
Clutching it out, Doa. Eating that Graviton, potentially match-changing here for the Seoul Dynasty. They get another minute and a half on the clock to try and make it to the end, but even then, we're going to have to go into time bank. So Boston still with a great advantage, but Seoul refusing to give up in this match.
Point C is so hard to complete with a little bit of time in the time bank. So Seoul Dynasty still has their work cut out for them right now. They're going in there. There's a grab, though. Seoul trying to finish right now. Color X finishing himself off after taking a lot of damage. Seoul Dynasty looking good so far. Clean fight win. Boston Uprising, though, they're going to get a lot of people respawn by the end here, so they're going to have another defense or two.
I mean, that's the right play if you're Seoul, though.
Yep.
You saw the Sound Barrier and the Trance come out last fight. They don't have them. You need to make as much time as possible. You must rush onto them now.
Yep.
And they do it.
As soon as that defense matrix is down, you have a little window to toss that grab in there. That's exactly what Fleta did. Color Hacks with his own Zarya ultimate, ready to go. Seoul Dynasty with all their defensive ultimates set. There's a grab. Gonna try to go with the self-destruct again. Can they get the right out of the way? They can. They get Jexay. They don't get the sound barrier off. Jexay dies. Actually, did use it just in time, but it doesn't matter. Boston Uprising winning this fight regardless. Sound barrier not doing it for Seoul Dynasty. Now we're under 10 seconds, and I don't think Seoul can even get back to the point.
Oh, they got Jaehong right now at the end of it.
Jexay able to... Oh, he gets stunned. Booped away. Can he get there? Yes, he gets there just in time to get overtime. But how in the world do you win this as Seoul Dynasty? I don't think you do. Fissure walking forward here. They got Aim God, but they're going to need a lot more. OT ticking away. Fissure comes in for the charge, but it's still going to be Boston finding the kills that they need. Seoul Dynasty on their last legs, and in the end, it is going to be a 3-1 victory in this series for Boston Uprising.
I think Boston was exceptional tonight. I am
agree.
very impressed with their game plan coming in. They looked like they had Seoul figured out. Credit to the Boston coaching staff and players. There were a lot of really weird mind games going on, a lot of very subtle strategies that were used to confuse Seoul.
You add into that the great individual play. I think you can argue that Fusion's outplayed Fissure in the Reinhardt to Reinhardt today. I think it's no argument that Aim God outplayed Jaehong, and I think Note was incredible too. Yeah, Kelix. There's so many good individual performances from the Boston Uprising today. Yeah, you just kind of have to go down the line and name every member of the team, right?
Well, you know, we came in saying this is going to be potentially the Boston of this season. They finally have all their players in all the right positions.
Yeah.
I think if you're a Boston fan, you're really happy with that debut.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is Boston saying, now I have unveiled my final form, completely. And Seoul Dynasty can't quite handle it. They're going to drop the 2-2 in the league overall so far. And Boston Uprising looks pretty good.
I mean, I think on an individual-to-individual basis, in many ways, Seoul outplayed Boston, but Boston came in with so many weird strategies and tactics that they were just thrown for a loop.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this team goes from here, but I think if you're a Boston fan, you're pretty excited. Let's send it down to Mika, who's got Fusions ready for an interview.
Thanks, guys. Give it up for Fusions, the tank extraordinaire, everybody. So I talked to Hunk at the half, and he said that you being back has really been crucial for the team's focus and you know, kind of coming together again. So what can you say that you guys did as a team to prepare and ultimately take the victory today?
We just really focused on playing our game. We didn't really know what Seoul were going to run. We had an idea. So we really focused on making our synergy together better, since I've only been here for a little bit with the team as well. So yeah, we just really focused on practicing our comps and playing our game.
You may only have been here for a little bit, but you are really turning this team into something extraordinary. And know that everybody has been enjoying watching you play. And also, the next few matches are going to determine if you guys make it into the stage playoffs. So with that pressure, can you give us a little insight into how you're feeling?
Next match is probably going to be our most important one, I think. So I feel like people might be a bit nervous going into it, but we're just going to do our best to make sure we go in with a cool head like we did this week. We're going to prepare as best we can for them and just hopefully come out with the W and put ourselves in a really good spot to win.
Absolutely. And I'm also so happy to hear you have a voice again this time. I can tell that you're taking the shot calling a little bit easier. So thank you so much, Fusions. Give it up once again for him, everybody. And we're going to send it back over to the casters.
Thank you, Mika. And man, what an impressive showing by Boston here. I mean, that is, again, like we talked about, that is their final form. This is the team that they were looking to run at the beginning of the season. Finally see it. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So let's take a look at our player of the match here. And I think this one is a very well deserved. It was tough. It was tough, but in the end, it's going to be Aim God that takes it. This guy was so good today, finding the picks, of course, but more importantly, finding the ability to survive against the onslaught from Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, especially those EMPs.
Yeah.
It was really his positioning and decision-making that allowed Boston to have trance during a lot of EMPs that they were baiting out of the Seoul Dynasty, and it's a great kill at the end there. A little bit of help, of course.
You know, with the Reinhardt pin. That does help a little bit. But again, this guy's transcending timings were extremely good. So he's going to be our Omen HP player of the match. And check out those stats, man. I mean, that's a lot of damage on. A lot of healing done, too. Not quite Jonak damage numbers, but hey, plenty to take on Seoul Dynasty today.
Yeah, still nice, though, to see the Zenyatta play on the up and up from the Boston Uprising.
True enough. Let's take a look at the overall standings in the league right now. So after that series, what ended up was Seoul Dynasty will still maintain 8th place, I believe. Yes, they will. Boston Uprising, though, will move up to 9th and finally equalize in the map score overall.
Yeah, looking good for Uprising. Still, obviously, a lot of shot there for the stage.